I probably shouldn't eat this. Mm. Can't lie, it's pretty good. I really wish I could say the same for this movie.
Lights, camera, action.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another review, and today we're going to be talking about Eli Roth's newest film, Ice Cream Man. So this movie pretty much tells a story about this random ice cream man that comes to this small town that gives all these children ice cream, and once they eat it, they essentially turn into these like mindless people that just start to slowly just start killing their parents and just wreaking chaos along this town. So this is a movie that was on my radar for a while now because it was one that I kept hearing about, and I was like, this could be a ridiculously fun concept if it's done correctly, and kind of leans into the silliness of it. And as the movie got closer to coming out, I started hearing all these things about how it's terrible. It was at like one of the secret screenings back on Monday, and people said it was so bad, it was terrible. All across the board, I just heard how awful it is, and I said I have to go see this movie for myself because one, yes, I hate myself that much, but curiosity got the best of me, so I had to see this. And yeah, it's not that great. Eli Roth is one of those directors for me I've never really been high on. He's got some stuff that I enjoy for the most part, then most of the stuff, though, I'm just not a huge fan of. I know Cabin Fever is one of those movies that everyone tends to really love and enjoy, and I'm just not too high even on that movie. Like I said, I watched it once when I was young, and I was like, this is not too bad, and then I watched it again for the first time since then, maybe a year or so ago, and I was like, this movie's not that great. So I'm not a big fan of that one. That might put me in the minority, but I've just never been huge on what he does as a director. And I know there's a lot of people that I've seen now that just straight up do not like him. I do not know why. I don't know what he's done or if he's done anything at all. If I just don't like his movies. It's one of those things I just haven't really dove into because it's just not. He's never been a director that's really been on my radar, so I've never really sought the need to really, go seek that stuff out. So starting out with some positives that I did enjoy about The Ice Cream Man, and one being the kills. If you like gory and violent kills and all that stuff like that, I think this is your movie. I think there's a lot of that in here. I think the kills are fun. They have fun, like I said in my intro. They have fun with that concept of what they can do with it. Cutting people's heads up and with an ice cream scooper and scooping their brains out, stuff like that. That's just fun. That is, enjoyable. It is one of those things. It's like if you really love slasher movies or really love like that Carnage Candy style, this movie has all that. It really goes for it. It has that unrated feel to it. And it really pushes that boundary where it just keeps going to see what it can push further. Now, in my personal opinion, I don't think it ever got on the level of like anything like Terrifier, for example, but it does do some pretty gruesome stuff that involves kids, so that might be a little bit of a trigger point for people, but some of it does lean more on the comedic side than the horrific side. Like, I think a lot of it is played for laughs, but I can see this stuff happening from kids can sometimes be a little too much for people. But it is, like I said, it does have all that, so that is something I did enjoy about it. I do like the small town setting of this movie. Something I just love horror movies or slashers, whatever, when they're in a small town setting. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I'm from a super small town, but I've just always loved that. It's always just gave me that like comfy, warm feeling. Even in a horror movie, it gives me that feeling. So that is a cool aspect that I love because you can see how really of a small town this really is as more of the chaos happens. So that is a big aspect of it that I did really enjoy. And I did really enjoy like the color palette of this movie. The way that the colors are, it's almost like this real vibrant colors all throughout this town to make it look really like colorful and make the colors pop really well. And I think it really adds something to that flavor of the movie, especially when the kills start to happen. You got all the blood and whatnot. So all that really adds to it. So I just think the color palette that they went for this movie really fits the overall tone. Now, I have one mixed thing about this movie, and that is the elements of the kills. Like, I know that they've used practical and CGI, like a mixture of both. Don't worry, I'm going to touch on the AI stuff at the end of the video. But they did say, I did read where they did a combination of both. I think the practical work that they did do with the kills, it does look really good, but then you can kind of see where some of the CGI kind of comes into it, and it does kind of take you out of it a little bit because it is so like jarring in certain parts where it looks really practical and all of a sudden something will happen that you can clearly tell is CG. So that does kind of take you out of it a little bit. I kind of just wish they stuck to practical effects. It's a huge thing in any kind of movies for me, whether it be horror or whatever. I champion movies who do practical effects. And I just wish they were able to really do more of that in this movie. I don't know if it was a budget thing because, you know, this is a movie that, you know, is produced under Eli Roth's own studio. So I don't know if it was a budget thing or what it was. But I just wish they stuck more in that element. And because when that CGI hits, it really kind of takes you out of it. And now moving on to my negatives, and as much as I hate to say it, this will probably be where most of my review lies, is on the negative side. And I hate to say that for movies, but unfortunately, we're here. I think one of the biggest negatives about this movie is there's absolutely no story. There is no narrative throughout it. There's no like character development. There's no character arcs. There's none of that throughout this movie. It's literally just about a ice cream guy that shows up to this town, feeds these kids, and boom, then chaos starts to happen. Which is fine. I know people can make the argument that most slasher movies don't have a story anywhere. Most of the characters are not likable. And I can see that in some aspects of it. But, I mean, this story was like, it's just like you're just dropped in this random place and time and this just happens. Yes, you get to try to get an explanation for everything later. But at that point, you don't care. You just don't care. And it's really the same way with the characters. It's like, you know, at least if you had a story, you kind of maybe get on board with stuff. But not only do you don't have a story, but it's the same with the characters. You just don't have any kind of character that you latch onto that's really the heart of the movie that you're rooting for. I try not to, like, diss on kid actors because a lot of the times, you know, they're kids. They don't have a lot of experience. You have to start somewhere to you know, grow and continue with your career. But in this movie, I really don't think it's more of the kids' issue. It's really more of the writing issue and the material that they're given. Because some of the dialogue and like the stuff that they have to do in this movie is just so like cringe-worthy that you're just like, oh my God, as you're watching it. And yeah, you're looking at it as like, you know, these are kids. You obviously want to root for the kids. You want the kids to make it out of this situation. But in this movie, you're kind of like, I just don't care. I don't care about the adults. I don't care about the kids. I don't even give a crap about our main villain in this movie. And really, that's another negative, is that our main villain is really not in the movie all that much. He's in the very beginning when all this stuff's going on, and you see him like driving around and passing by, and he's some here near the middle and the end where he just kind of pops up. And I feel like if you're trying to create a new horror villain or a new horror icon or something like that, you have to give the audience something to kind of maybe not so much latch into, but like look at why do people love Jason Voorhees? Why do people love Michael Myers? Things like that. And this movie doesn't have a shred of that. So it's like, I don't know if Eli Roth was going for something like that, but if he was, it just did not work. I mean, yes, they try to give this whole backstory of the ice cream man later on in the movie, but you're kind of like, again, it's one of those things where it's like, I don't care about what is going on at the moment, so it's just like, I don't care. I'm trying to be fully invested in everything that's going on, but it's just like I cannot get myself there. I can't get there. And like I said earlier in my review, I was hoping that this movie would really lean into more of that silly side, that goofiness that I'm like, you know, this movie could be really fun if it would lean into that. Because look at the concept of it. It is a ridiculous concept. If it would lean into the silliness of that, I was like, we could have a pretty fun movie. And while it does go there in some ways, the silliness or the humor, whatever you want to call it, does not land at all. I went with a friend of mine, and I was hoping that maybe if I brought him along, we could have these laughs back and forth to where we're like, okay, laughter's contagious. He'll find some stuff funny, and I'll enjoy it more because of that. He rarely laughed. He like chuckled a few times here and there, and I maybe got like a out of something that happened. But for the most part, none of the humor or the silliness landed for me whatsoever, which is a major disappointment. I know, like I said, they went for that, but I don't know why, but it just did not land for me at all. Another thing about this movie is that you would think that, after like all these kills and carnage and all this crazy stuff keeps going on, that you would be somewhat entertained. And for the beginning, when the kills first start to happen, yes, it is very entertaining. You're kind of paying attention to what's going on at that point. You're like, okay, now I'm invested. But as the story goes, I feel like we get oversaturated with so many kills because it's just nonstop, which a lot of times could work for somebody. I know they could just be like, this is what I came for. Totally understand that. But for me, I think by the halfway mark, I was so like just burnt out on it, which is something I never thought I'd say. But I just got to the point where I was so burnt out on it where I was like, okay, we're just doing a lot of wash, rinse, repeat here. To the point to where I was bored. Like I was very bored and very like, I only had a few hours of sleep anyway because I worked third shift. So I this was my third movie of the day. And I was like, so halfway through it, I was like, I am very bored. Even when it would shift back over to our other kids and just try to develop more of the story, I was kind of like, again, I was just not invested, so therefore I didn't care. So therefore it just added more boredom to everything that was going on. And I don't know. I was just seriously bored. And that was something that I did not think I would be in this entire movie. I was like, the kills will be pretty cool, so at least we'll have that. But I felt like we got so many of them that, like I just said a second ago, you're just numb to it by a certain point. You're just like, okay, guess we're doing this again. It was also uncomfortably hot in the theater I was in, so I don't think that helped my situation at all. Like to the point to where I was ready to go halfway through. I was like, it is so uncomfortably hot in here that I just want to go. So yeah, that didn't help this movie's case in any way. And as we get towards the end of the movie, this is not going to be a spoiler, but there is something that happens that I don't know if it meant to be a twist or if it was meant to be a big like reveal or anything like that. But for me, it was one of those things where I was like, yeah, I saw that coming like 20 minutes before you did this. I'm just like, okay. So when the reveal happened, you're just kind of like, yeah, well, there's that, I guess. Then the movie just kind of ends like abruptly. It kind of just, does its thing and ends, and you're kind of like, okay, well, nothing was wrapped up, which honestly is a part that I did appreciate. I do like the fact that movies are left somewhat ambiguous and don't wrap everything up in a nice bow. That is one thing I did enjoy. But you're kind of like, is this supposed to be the start of a franchise that you want to do or what? Because I don't know. This movie feels very much like an easy one and done. I don't see how you could keep going with the concept of this movie and keep going with stuff because I feel like it would get old really quick. And it got old in this movie. So I don't see it going for 2, 3, 4, 5 sequels unless they just do something with the character of the actual ice cream man himself to make it absolutely batshit crazy. I don't know, but I just do not see this movie going anywhere else but this movie. And based on the critical reception and the audience reception that it has gotten so far, I don't think it will go beyond this movie. Crazier things have happened, but I don't think it's going to go beyond this. So now real fast, I just want to touch on the whole AI element of this movie. And knowing that going into it, yes, for sure, you could see some moments that were like, that's pretty bad AI right there. That's pretty awful. And even my friend looked at me and was like, that's AI. That's 100% AI. So you do have it in this movie, and I know that Eli Roth, was it Eli Roth? I can't remember. He said that no, there was no AI used in this movie, and then an article came out like a couple days ago that were like, oh, we come to find out the company that they outsourced this movie to try to get some more work done, like CG work done, came back and said that yes, they used AI in it. So it's not looking good. So unfortunately, AI is in this movie. And like I said, it sticks out like a sore thumb because it is so just not natural looking. Like, it is so wonky looking and off. You're just kind of like, man, that looks terrible. I know AI is one of those things that you'll never be rid of, and it's one of those things that will continue to grow and people will use as a tool to try to help out with certain things. And I think it is good if you want to use it for certain tools. Certain things that can be used for fun or whatever, or things to help you out in your everyday business or whatever. But when it comes to stuff with movies and art, I say wholeheartedly leave it to filmmakers, leave it to artists, leave it to people that want to create things, and go seek out people that want to, do your effects, do your art for the film, or what poster art, cartoon art, anything like that. Let people, like, I think in that kind of space it should be kept human. But like I said, it can be a everyday use tool that people can use to help out things in their everyday life, or a project or something here and there. But like I said, when it comes to stuff like this, I just don't like it so much in movies, because if like the little bit that we got in this movie turns out to be like, if they try to do a whole movie of that, at that's just gonna be bad. And that's the thing about Eli Roth, is that I appreciate this little like production company he has. I did not see the other movie that came out of this production company, Jimmy and Stiggs. I didn't see that one at all, but I heard mixed things about it. But I appreciate what his company's trying to do. They're trying to, give a shot for independent filmmakers to really, shine and get their movie made and get it on the big screen for people to see. And they're doing the thing where they want to do like the fuck the system thing, where it's like, hey, we're going to make this unrated. You can make it as violent or whatever as you want, and we'll get it in the theaters. I really like that punk rock attitude towards what he's trying to do with that. I think that's awesome, and I really appreciate that. That's kind of what Blumhouse, I felt like, tried to do in the beginning. And unfortunately now they're more IP-based and everything else, but I appreciate that. I think that's awesome. I love the fact that that's what that company's for. But you can't do that and then have like stuff with AI and whatnot in the movie, and you can't have it both ways. And I just kind of wish I don't know how they didn't see that when they like watched this movie back, but unfortunately, like I said, it's in there. But it's like, at the end of the day, at this point, what are you gonna do? The movie's out. So, but yeah, guys, this is just not a good movie. I hate to say it. I hate to crap on movies, because I know how hard it is to get a movie made. And I know how, frustrating it can be to get the ball rolling on things, but it's just not good. Like, there's no substance, there's no story, there's no character development, there's no fun. Like I said, I even ran out of the fun, like the silliness or whatever. I just feel like it's a big hollow shell of a movie. And I really hate to say that, because I felt like this movie really could have had potential to be something really fun and really something that people could have looked back on and been like, you know what, that was a lot of fun, and it could have maybe went down as a cult classic if it would have went in a particular way, and unfortunately it did not. This movie might work for some people. I don't know. Like I said, if you're just going in for it, you're like, fuck everything else, and I'm going in for it strictly for the kills. Yes, this movie delivers that in absolute spades. And like I said, I'm a huge fan of carnage, candy, and kills, and I'm all for it. But I do like a little bit of substance in between. I do like a little bit of some story fleshed out and some characters here and there. But, that's just not here. So, sadly, I cannot recommend this movie at all. I don't think I would not go out to the theater to see it. I don't even know if I would rent it on VOD. I would wait till maybe it's streaming on something. And then if you're just really bored or really want to torture yourself, or just if you're just morbidly curious like I was, hearing all the negative reception, then yeah, maybe throw it on a late night or something like that, just to see what you think of it. But make the opinion for yourself. But unfortunately, it's just not a movie that I can recommend at all. I actually saw Super Troopers 3 and One Night Only yesterday, as well as this one, and I enjoyed both those movies by a landslide more than this movie. So I would go check out one of those. If you haven't seen Spider-Man, go see Spider-Man. Of the new releases this week, I would go check out Super Troopers or One Night Only over this one. So thank you, everybody. That is my review for Eli Roth's Ice Cream Man. If this is a review that you're finding me on, please come over to the channel and check out all my other 2026 reviews so far. I would love to have you over there. What is your favorite Eli Roth movie? I'm very curious. Mine would probably be Thanksgiving. I just had a lot of fun with Thanksgiving. I think, see, that's a fun slasher. That one's fun. I don't know why that didn't get brought over. All that fun did not get brought over into this. I don't know what happened. But I think Thanksgiving is my favorite. But what is your favorite Eli Roth movie? Please comment below and let me know, and we can talk about it. And as always, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. That way I can see all of you in the next one. Thank you so very, very much.